Many Excel worksheets deal with dates and/or times. Excel has great computational capability when it comes to using these. However, the date entries themselves must adhere to a couple of basic rules. I'm going to type in a date May 6th, 5/6/22. If you type any entry with a slash or a dash, Excel evaluates that as if it could be a date. If it is a valid date, Excel displays the information as you typed it, but actually stores a value in the background. You don't need to know a whole lot about that other than the fact that the entire date system starts January 1st, 1900. That's day one. The next day is day two, and so on. And that allows us to work with dates in a computational way. If you type these with a dash, I'll do the same date again, 5-6-22. Excel understands that too and displays it with the slashes in the standard way. If you type a date that doesn't exist, like this one here, and even if you put in the 4-digit year, that's not going to help. Excel doesn't really accept that. However, you wouldn't necessarily know that unless the column's wider. If you point to the boundary between B and C, make it a bit wider. I do recommend if you're putting dates down a column, always make that column wider. But the main idea here is it's easy to enter these. And then, for example, you can do interesting things. For example, if I wanted to know when is 30 days after this, or maybe it's some kind of an account, it's got a 90-day termination, I can write a formula, and some of you haven't written formulas just yet, but I'm going to type equal and refer to this cell, it's B2, plus 90. And I get a date that's 90 days later. And you can only do that properly when the dates that are entered are truly accepted by Excel as valid dates. So keep those columns wider, at least for a while, when you've got date entries, and those impossible dates will pop out. Same thing would happen here, by the way, if you put in February 29th in a non-leap year. You're less likely to be using times, but here too, there's some great shortcuts too. And remember, the colon is how we typically separate hour and minute. So if it's 3 a.m., 3:345, for example, a.m., type that. That's how it's being entered. If you're familiar with 24-hour style, and you're more likely to use that, if it's an afternoon time, if it's 3:30 p.m., you could type it a couple of ways, 3:30 space P. That's one way to do it. Or you could simply type it using the 24-hour style, 15:30, like that. And there too, you can use these in a computational way. So keep an eye on date entries, and ultimately you will be able to work with these features with special built-in functions related to both date and time.